Hi, I'm Wendy Murdoch, and this is Webinars with Wendy. This is number 86. When I started doing these webinars, I had no idea that the pandemic was going to last this long, or that I'd be enjoying talking to my friends so much via Zoom. I've talked to people I've never known, I've made a lot of new friends, but I've also had people that I do know on the show, which is really fun because I get to find out more about their background, which I don't know. And so tonight my guest is Reese Koffler Stanfield. And we met a couple of years ago now, and I've been a guest on her show on Horse Radio News. Horse Radio News? Yeah, our
network.
Horse Radio Network. Why do I want to call it news?
That's right.
Because it is newsy.
That's okay.
Right? Horse Radio Network on the Dressage Hour. So this is great because now we're turning the tide and I get to ask Reese questions. So welcome, Reese. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. This is super fun.
This is really fun because, you know, it's kind of weird how I met you, actually. And I have to kind of go back and tell this story a little bit. So I put out an email about Safari to my list. And I'm trying to remember his name now. Was it David? He worked for a tack shop and he knew you. And he emailed you. He's from South Africa. And I'd have to go back and look up his name. I think it was like Scheffler or Sheffield or something. Anyway, he emailed me and we did a call. I was driving and I called him up, and I'm going to have to look up his name now because it's going to make me crazy. But anyway, we're talking about Surefoot because he had a tack, you know, he works for a tack shop, pretty big one. And we were talking about Surefoot and whether or not that'd be something that worked. And he said, you know, I know someone that I need to hook you up with. I need to hook you up with Reese. And so that's what he did. He sent an email to both of us, and I emailed you and said, I'm going to be in Kentucky. Oh yeah, it was for the Right Horse Symposium, and I was going to be in town, and could I please come see you and show you Surefoot? And so I went to the Right Horse Conference, which was kind of interesting in itself, but I drove out one day and I brought you a set of pads, and you were so kind, and it was early morning and it was so nice and quiet in the barn. And we worked with at least 3 of your horses.
I think we did 3. Yeah,
we
did that day.
Yep. And we had you walk over the pads and we just hit it off. It was great fun. And that kind of started the friendship. And so it's just been a pleasure to get to know you. And I really enjoy talking with you and Philip every month. That's just a blast for me.
Yeah. We have a really good time, and you're so good at it now that it's like super easy for us. You know, it's great.
It's like just talking to friends. It's really, really great. And so we've been doing that for at least a year, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. We'd have to look back too, but it's been at least a year.
Maybe Glenn will show up on us and he can tell us.
Yeah, exactly. We have to have him on.
Really
he can tell us.
But you know what I realized, Reese, is okay, so I actually lived in Kentucky to get my master's degree in 1984. I don't know how old you were then.
I was 4.
Okay, great. And so,
sorry.
It's okay. And actually I got there in I think it was 82, and I left in 86. So I was there for 4 years. And I had that really bad riding accident in 84. So you were just barely on this planet.
Yes.
Right? And then of course, so that's
I'm not young anymore either.
I know. Hey, watch it.
Sorry, I had to say it.
Okay, it's fine. But that was one of the things that kind of connected us is UK, is Lexington, because I lived in Lexington, and I actually, one of my professors, James Rooney, lived in Georgetown, and I used to go and farm sit for him when he and his wife went away. And that was before the Toyota plant was there.
Yes, yes, we have a Toyota plant now.
Yep, and I actually worked for a catering service when they broke ground for the Toyota plant, and the catering service side that I worked for was French, and they brought their sushi guys, and it was the most bizarre, groundbreaking with the Kentuckians and the Japanese and the huge casket of sake and breaking it open, and it was, you know, this was 1986, right? This was like a time. So I have many memories of Kentucky and Lexington in particular, but I left and you were just a little kid. And so
I grew up.
how did you get how did you get where you are now? Like, were you born into a horsey family? I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah, I was born into a horsey family. My uncle's actually still a trainer in Middleburg. He's a hunter jumper trainer.
In
Uh,
Middleburg, Virginia?
Virginia. Yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
hour from me.
I know. So my uncle lives there now to this day. He does hunter jumpers and he does a lot of confirmation hunters. I like missed the hunter jumper gene. Like I can't jump actually. And it's not from lack of trying or good trainers. I really am not good at it. Really, really not good at it. So I've even had people like, I can teach you. I'm like, I'm unteachable, I think. And I don't like it. I was hurt as a kid and I don't like it. So my mom is a horsewoman, has been a horsewoman, but decided not to go professional. She went to nursing school and then met my dad and that's the story. So we started ponies, kind of like everyone else. My mom really wanted to make sure I wanted to ride, but I wanted to ride from the time mom said the time I could say horse, I wanted to be on a horse. So I had one of those. Remember those little jumpy things?
Yeah.
With the
springs.
Metal. Yeah. I used to bounce on that. I wore my horses out. Like literally my mom was like, I knew where you were because I could hear you bouncing on the thing. So yeah. So I wore mine out. And so I didn't start riding until I was 7. Really riding. I mean, I actually went to the horse park to the pony rides and I had, my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th birthday, maybe 5th birthday there. Like, yeah, it's funny because now when we go to the horse show, I have to walk by that little pavilion and I need to do like, kids start here. Like this is where my birthday party was, the same little pavilions there. Yeah. So it's pretty fun. So I started there and then I started hunter jumpers and I was really good on the flat. They were so excited. And then they got me jumping and it was not good. Didn't go well. So I saw Fran Vanderheiden, and her name's Fran Horn now. I saw her riding dressage at a local barn. And my mom had moved barns because it was just, she had 3 kids and trying to organize all of us. And she had a horse at the time and she hadn't bought us a pony. I had to really beg for a pony. I actually never got a pony. I got a horse off the track. She was trying to get rid of me, I think. Like, really did I want to ride? So, yeah. So we went to this barn. I saw my coach or my soon-to-be coach riding dressage, and that was it. And I wanted to ride dressage ever since then. So I was before they were young riders, before any of that was around, I was 9 and I was like, I want to ride dressage. And that was really not something that happened.
Well, so that was early 90s, right? That would have been early 90s.
Yeah.
And dressage, I mean, because, rats, now the name, who was the woman that used to hold the conferences up in, was it Wisconsin or Michigan? Sally Swift used to go down, all the people used to go, Van Schaik used to go, they all used to go up. Okay. Anyway.
I think I went to that conference. My mom
took me.
It's
like her name is like an icon and I cannot remember it right now. But that's where, because dressage was really small in the United States for a long time.
Really small then.
And it took a while. So that's cool. So you started riding dressage before there was really a lot going on. And then did you go to college? You went to college.
Yeah, I went to college. Well, yes, I went to a lot of college actually. So funny enough, I was riding with at the time, Conrad Schumacher was coming to the US and he was the US young rider coach. So I think it was 3 or 4 times a year, we would go to Temple Farms for 3 or 4 days. And I then got exposed to theory. I didn't know anything about theory or dressage had anything to do with theory. I just thought I rode around. And I'll never forget when Mr. Schumacher asked me how to do a proper canter transition. And I remember just being like, I'll put my outside leg back and I do a little kick. That was my thought, right? And he said, no, to do a proper canter transition, think about it. There's a lot of steps to do a proper canter transition or a proper trot. And he said, no, actually your inside leg's at the girth, your outside leg's behind the girth, your inside seat bone's forward, you have weight on your inside seat bone, you have steady. And he went through the steps of a canter transition. And I thought, I really don't know anything because I could just feel it. I could just do it.
Right.
So once I started to, I was 14 when I first rode with Mr. Schumacher. And I told him, I said, I'm coming to Germany. And I think he was like, sure. Yeah. So I graduated high school here in town. I had done Young Riders and I had a schoolmaster horse who we kind of glued together. The Surefoot pads would have been really helpful for him.
Really.
He was so good, but the therapies we have now, that horse could have really used. But we got him through Young Riders. I went when I was 16 and 17. And then when I was 18, we ended up, I got on a plane after high school and I went to Germany for almost a year. And I trained with Mr.
You did like a gap year, basically.
I did a gap year. Yeah, which I absolutely encourage people to do. Wow. Yeah. So I did a gap year.
This is really, really cool because you know what? I'm starting to realize we have more things in common than I thought. I had a horse on my first birthday cake. All of my birthday parties were at the local barn with the pony lessons. I just found some photos. I bought my first horse at 15 and came home and told my mother.
Yeah. I just was a barn rat. Oh, I was a rat. I'm still a barn rat. I'm still a barn rat. I love it. I have to make myself come inside. Today I was like, I told my sweet assistant, I was like, I gotta go. I gotta be inside. I gotta shower. I gotta be ready for human contact. So I spent. Yeah.
You went to Germany. Did you know German?
I did. So ish. I told him I wanted to go to Germany. I was 14, so I started taking German classes at my school.
Wow.
So
now that's one thing I wish I had done in hindsight.
Yeah. So I ended up, at the time I spent 2 years, I went to Germany. I came back to the University of Kentucky and started my schooling at the university. Cause my parents said, we can help with some cool opportunities overseas, but you need to get a scholarship and go in state. And so I started my tour at UK. And I started out like I think a lot of horse girls, I wanted to be a vet. And I really hated chemistry. I hated chemistry. It was literally,
chemistry is just there to weed people out, right? If you can survive it.
Pulled me right out. And my dad is like, chemistry master. He couldn't understand. He was like, what is wrong with you?
Oh no.
So and then at the time I had a horse that was getting ready for the Grand Prix. It was a horse I then went back to Young Riders with a horse we had purchased, and his name was Yuri. It was my first horse I ever made to a Grand Prix horse, and he was really getting good, but I really felt like I needed to go kind of home to my German home. So I went back home. I went back to Germany for another year. Almost just under a year. Did you take
your horse that time?
I took him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got on a plane with him, just zipped him back over, which that's a whole nother webinar, but, yeah. I got him on the plane, and then, so we did that, which was fantastic. And, I came back and I trained with Kathy Conley at the time to get ready for the Pan Am Games.
Oh, wow.
He finished just outside he was 13th. Top 12 went. I was 13th. And it was at the time I was, I guess, 23, I had dedicated everything to that. And that was heartbreaking a little bit, but you got to learn how to deal with that. But he was great. I mean, that horse, we put in like 6 of the best tests I could possibly put in, or however many we needed to do. He was as good as he could be. And I learned that's all you can ask of horses. They can only do as good as they can possibly do. So that's what that horse did. So I don't look back at that time and think, oh no, I didn't make it. We did our best. So then my dad really actually he had said, when I came back from Germany, he said, you have got to go to school, sister. And I was like, oh, daddy's mad. But he didn't say where I had to go to school at that particular time. So I went to Palm Beach Community College for a semester while I was doing the Pan Am stuff.
Well, that's convenient.
It was great. Actually, I am a huge fan of the community college system. I had an amazing time there. My my teachers were so nice. And one teacher lived actually in my neighborhood, so she would come see me show. I look back on that time, it was great. So you can, anybody who's listening, I'm a huge proponent of school. And all my young riders, I'm like, you have to go to school. And no, you don't like it, but you got to go. So, then to fast forward a little bit, I finished school and I have a BS in agriculture economics, actually. Oh. And so then I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And my mom, who's a very smart lady, was like, there's this school called the Patterson School of Diplomacy and International Commerce. And my German was good enough at the time. My German's not great now, but I got into diplomacy school actually with a focus in German and international commerce.
Okay, you have to tell me what that means exactly, because I have never heard of that kind of a school.
Yeah, it's actually one of the top 3 diplomatic schools, or at the time, I'm not sure now, but Georgetown has a diplomacy school. So diplomats, right? Training people that go to the State Department. A lot of my colleagues went to the State Department, or I had an international commerce economics focus because of my undergrad. So I went in and said, I want to trade horses internationally and work internationally, which I do. And that was my focus.
Oh, I get it. You used it to forward your horse career. Of course.
Yeah, I did.
Doing the
I did. That's how I got
it. I get it. Good job. Smart.
Yeah. Well, and at the time, right, that was I graduated in 2004. And we were, I'm from Kentucky, so we have horses here, and horses are traded internationally here all the time. We have lots of international traffic and companies that's all they do. So I
have to tell you that when I was in Kentucky, I worked the Keeneland sales. When the horse sold for $13 million, I was there handling horses for one of the stables, and for the $10 million and the $13 million horse. And it's crazy. I don't know what, I always say when you go to Kentucky, you can tell the health of the industry by whether or not the fences are painted.
It's true.
It's
very true.
Fences are painted.
Fences are painted. We have a lot of fences.
A lot of miles of fences. And so it's really easy to tell, but it's also an incredibly fascinating industry. And it's, this last time when I went, I realized how much the Toyota plant has actually done to the area in terms of economy. But horses are, I don't know, is it number 1 or number 2 to the cars in terms of
it's still number 1, I think. Still 1. I think about 90,000 people work in the horse industry in Lexington and surrounding counties. So I actually live in Scott County. So it's a huge part. So that started my schooling, and actually right around the same time, within 3 weeks of each other. I'm not sure this was a smart thing, but I did my first USDF certified instructor exam. So I kind of, I don't know what, I actually think the certification exam at the time was harder than my grad school comps. Not gonna lie on that.
Wow.
It was hard. Yeah, it's a hard exam. It's important, but it's a hard exam. So it was not pleasant to be around. Right then, that time.
So somewhere in here you got married, or maybe that's a little later.
I did, yeah.
At the same time, what is going on?
Actually, it was right after we got engaged in February, and I took my comps in December. So yeah, my poor husband, he's so sweet. We dated for 7 years, so he knew what he was getting into.
Oh, good.
My daddy.
Really important for the guys to know exactly. And, it was like when I met Brad, I met him up in Michigan. He actually audited my clinic up there. And I invited him down to Virginia in April to watch a point-to-point race. And I was like, get my drift. I am not leaving Virginia for Michigan. There's no way, and
it's really,
he played polo in college.
Michigan, it's great. Yeah, we love Michigan. Good. Hi, Michigan. But
we like
your winter.
Your winter. No, every time I would go, it was like our first date. I went back to Michigan for a clinic in March. It was 29 degrees. And I had my little pumps and my nice little leather jacket. I was freezing my butt off. Okay. So yeah. This is great because
I'm a snowbird. I can't even think of that.
Yes. All right. So you got married, you got your grad degree, you did your USDF all in the same year, and you were riding.
Yeah, and I was riding. So right around that time, I had some young horses. So I had a young horse who passed away. Actually, he was a head shaker, and he had probably had some sort of allergy situation. It was terrible, and it was a young horse, and I was like, what am I going to do? And then my dear friend Jennifer Conauer, she had a wonderful old Grand Prix horse who I had that time not ridden Grand Prix. I really wanted my gold medal and to have that experience of really riding, because Yuri, the horse I brought back I never actually did. I did the Pan Am selections, and then he was sold. learn that lesson. And my mom was really good about that. Like my mom always said, like, we can't keep horses. And I'm glad she did that, because as a professional rider, like I can say, okay, it's time to sell them. And that's hard for riders.
Super hard.
But I sold him.
I cannot do it. Sorry.
Well, it was because my mom trained me to do it, you know, and Yuri was sold. I never rode a Grand Prix. We had him on the market and he sold. So I didn't ride him Grand Prix. So I really had that burning desire to sort of start a high performance career, or at least riding Grand Prix. So my friend Jennifer Conauer had an old horse, and he was sitting in the field, and she had some things going on. So she said, here, rehab him and see what you can do. So I rehabbed him for the summer, and I got him ready. And I can tell you, I got a 50, you need a 60% for your gold medal. And I had a 59.98 twice.
Oh no. Twice.
Oh yeah. Oh, my mom. Oh, I would send my mom to the scoreboard. Like, did I get it? And she's like 59.98. I was like, what?
Nobody could give you one more point. What, just one?
Just one half a point. Yeah, exactly. So Ollie was amazing. And so I ended up getting my gold medal that summer. It took a while, and I had to pay for it because I was out of grad school, and my parents were like, you got to pay for this. I was out of money. My mom actually funded the last horse show. She felt so bad. She's like, I'll pay for the last horse show. It's no problem.
So my mom paid. Very unhappy person. Yes.
Oh, she just was like, I cannot believe that just happened again. So I finally got my gold medal. And then we decided, we got a syndicate together, and I bought Jamaica, who was for sale in Holland. She was a Grand Prix horse and a mare. And I put together a business plan, and I said, I'm going to breed her, and I'm going to sell the babies, and I'm going to pay back my syndicate. And I did, barely, but I did. I paid back my syndicate.
Okay, how old are you at this point? I want to know.
It was all around the same time. This was all around that sort of getting married, finishing grad
25,
school.
30, how old are you at this point?
Probably 26,
Wow.
26. Yeah. So Jamaica was in my life, and she's amazing. I had 3 babies with her. I still have her son, Denali. He is going to be 12 this year, which is crazy. And so I did breed her. I sold her 2 fillies. One won the US finals actually a couple years ago. That was really awesome. Yeah, as a breeder, to see her baby win was amazing. And Denali, her son that I had, was kind of a lemon. He must have gotten hurt as a little one. So, but he has found a person, and she's awesome, and she leases him, and they have a great time, and I love it. But I don't ride him anymore. It's kind of, I couldn't do it anymore. You know, he had gotten hurt. He had some hind leg suspensory issues.
You know, and then it's such a tricky deal too, to get one mare, to organize a syndicate, to get one mare and actually successfully breed 3 foals. I mean, I don't think people understand that most small breeders don't actually make it because the numbers are against you.
Oh, yeah.
They might not take, something could happen in the womb, something could happen when they're born, something could happen for the years it takes them before you sell them. I mean, there's so many opportunities for failure. So that is really to your credit to actually, at 26, organize a syndicate, know the horse, get the horse, breed the horse for 3 years, pay your syndicate back. That's amazing, you know?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And around the same time, so Jamaica got hurt, and I bred her. And then I had an opportunity for the horse of my lifetime to this point. Guberg's Casper came into my life. And also Suzanne Dansby Phelps owned him. I had tried him and he hadn't sold. And she called me back and said, you rode him the best. I think it's your horse. So again, I organized a syndicate and we purchased him. And the deal was, and this was a hard deal. This was hard. My sister and I are very close, but this was a really difficult thing. The deal was my sister got him for a year, and I would give him so many treats. He was so spoiled because I wanted him to love me more. But that was the deal, was my sister, because my sister rode, and still helps me to this day. She was here this morning. She was on her young rider path, and she had an amazing young rider horse that had died. It was so sad. And the deal was she also hadn't had a gold medal, and that was the deal. So my sister had him for a year, and then I got him, and then proceeded, that was the horse that sort of made my career and changed my life. He won several CDIs. He was invited to the Masters, the 5-star. I did the test event here with him, and he was amazing. And he finished 4th at the national championships at Grand Prix. So really a horse of a lifetime for me. And this was sort of around this time. And so he was pretty amazing. So he took us on a ride that I didn't see coming, but it was amazing.
That's really amazing. And people don't think or appreciate how difficult it is for a good rider to find a good horse to compete at that level. It's
so hard.
It's really hard. There's so many factors, and the whole idea, there's a lot of horses, that are syndicated, right? A lot of these riders.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Honestly, the horse, Big Mike, Follow Me, who we do the shirt rides on, Big Mike is syndicated. I am a huge fan of syndicates, because I feel like it's a way to include a lot of people. It just depends on how you structure your syndicate, but it's not a huge, typically it depends on the horse and how much you put in and how much everyone puts in. On a young horse, it's not that much money. Typically it's a lot of money for one person. It's not as much money for 3 or 4 or 5 people for one horse. Right. And, there's a really good website, experiencedressage.com, where they can help you. That's it was developed by Uscf Owners Task Force to help riders obtain horses, and it's great. I didn't work through them. I kind of knew how to do it, and it's great. It's the best way to do it, and that I've found.
Well, then you have a team. You have a team of supporters that want to see you to be successful and want to support you, and they're going to be there for you, and they're going to cheer you on, and they're going to, be a shoulder when things aren't so great, and be your best cheerleader when things are going awesome. And so it's really, really interesting. But I'm just still impressed at how you're able to but that's your economy your economics background and that sort of thing. I'm sure that you put all of that together to create these syndicates for these horses. It's really impressive. Like I said, all I know from you is the couple of times I've met you, and then Horse Radio Network interviews. And so this is amazing to me. That's why I wanted to interview you, because I wanted to know. I knew there was more to Reese than what I knew. And it's really, really cool. It just makes me smile. So, okay, so you had your horse of a lifetime, and then when did you, or maybe during that time, you started teaching? Because you teach and train.
Yeah. So, well, it was funny because after I finished grad school, it was that kind of, and you look back in life and you're like, I could have done multiple things. I had a good friend that was at Ford in Michigan, love Michigan. Love you guys. My brother lives there. It's a great state. And he had kind of said, hey, do you want to come work for Ford? And my husband's in software. He's not into horses. So we were managing his career and what he was doing. And he was managing a project in Canada, and, just a lot was going on. And I thought, let me see if I can do this horse thing and see if I can make it work. And at least I think we all go into this knowing we're not going to be rich doing this, but we live a pretty cool lifestyle, and we're able to live the life we wanted to. So right around this time, my husband also, we had a house in town that we had bought and kind of fixed up. And my husband's like, I'm kind of ready for a change, and then my parents decided that they were ready for it. My dad was ready for a change. My mom would have stayed on our family farm forever. And so right around that time, it became pretty clear that my parents were going to sell the farm, and what were we going to do with my horses? So I started a farm, the farm where you came. Yeah, we've been open 10 years. Yep. So that was 2010. It opened literally right before the WEG in 2010. And I have all kinds of crazy stories. If anyone ever wants to talk about starting a farm, I gotcha.
Well, you probably, when did you buy the property? Because the market was crashing in 2008. So it couldn't have, had to be around that.
Right. It's 2007. Yeah. So we bought the we got married in 2006 and bought the land, and then the market crashed. So we had to kind of wait. And then we would picnic out here, and I got to know my neighbors because I paid them to do hay on the field, and the whole deal. And then we really took a long time to plan. And initially I did not have an indoor arena. That was an addition after the fact. When I was here for the winter and it snowed all winter and I had to leave.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I gotta have an indoor. Because again,
I
you know, the indoor
in the winter, and it is not fun. If it's not snowing, it's ice storms, and if it's not ice storms, it's 1,000,000% humidity and cold.
Yeah, it's off. Exactly. Yes, that's it. So I was like, all right, I'm out. I can't wait. So I was able later to start the indoor. So yeah, we started a farm, and I've learned a ton about owning a farm. I'm not farmy. I mean, I have an agricultural background, so, you know, I can run it, but you know, honestly, I don't like, I look at your flowers and think, I wish I could do flowers. Mine die. I just don't. Oh, my vegetable garden is this a situation. Like I can't.
You're not like that with horses.
Oh no, my horses are great. I should just let them mow it or something. I'm terrible. But, you know, again, I wanted care for my horses and for my business, and I wanted to be able to control that. And I didn't feel, especially at the time, even now, like Lexington's a hard place to find boarding, which is strange.
Well, because
there's a lot of fun.
It's a hard town because its focus is mostly racing and breeding. And so it's, you know, the show side, the boarding side, that's a very different deal. And you know, Middleburg, no problem, but Lexington,
no problem. Right.
It's a very different.
No, it's changed. It has changed since the WEG. That was the one thing the WEG brought to Kentucky was the horse park. You know, they put in, I think, 84 million into the horse park, and they really upped the game there. So that kind of changed the hunter jumper circuit here. And I happen to be right around the horse park, about 10-15 minute ring, which is where our farm is, just by luck, started to be sport horse farms. So the farm behind me is now a sport horse farm. The farm on the other side of us is a hunter jumper farm, big time hunter jumpers, like team riders.
Wow.
So yeah, so our little corner of the world is quite fun. You know, it's like, wow, you know, Kent Farrington's next door. I can tell when he comes because he's not here all the time, but when he comes, the jumps are like over the standards. I'm like, oh, Kent's here. Yeah. So, and that was just amazing during the WEG. We had such a cool experience. The US team actually the dressage team based out of here. And,
nice.
Yeah, which was awesome. And that was fantastic. We had the alternate. Catherine Haddad was the alternate that year. And she was based here the whole time, which was cool. And yeah, and then the New Zealand, and we also had some para teams here. It was great. And but that really changed the landscape in Kentucky. And people now were like, oh, you know, you ride dressage. Oh, I saw that at the WEG. You know, that changed things a lot. So that was right around the time, again, I started the farm, and I went with the business model of full training. And that was not heard of here in Lexington. Yeah. And I said, well, people are like, it's not going to work. And I was like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll change it. I'll pivot, whatever I need to do.
But a good opportunity, the right timing with WEG coming in and people recognizing, you know, riding horses for pleasure as opposed to just for business is a possibility in Kentucky, which is fabulous. Yeah. It's really fabulous.
Yeah. So it's kind of right place at the right time, which is good.
So you built a barn, and then of course you're doing training and teaching.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I love to teach. So I really enjoy, I mean, I love to ride as well. But if I had to ride every horse in the barn versus teach, I would actually ride my own horses and teach my people. Oh. And so, yeah, I love to teach. And, you know, I like learning new things, which is why you and I get along so well.
I know we get along.
Yes. I mean, you brought in the Franklin ball system and how those work. And I can't wait to get together again and get more techniques. And I think like anything, and I tell this to young people too, you know, this is our profession, and I come from a medical family, and my dad and mom are always doing continuing education things. And I try to do the same thing. I try to learn new methods and do better things for my students. And along this time, actually, we've been doing the podcast almost 8 years. Oh,
yeah. So we gotta get into that. Yeah. Cause I'm very curious.
So all this sort of happened around the same time, funny enough, you know, as I look back at timing. And Casper happened, and then that kind of changed my career. And then I started a farm, and I met Philip. So at the time, my current coach and mentor, Scott Hassler, was hosting the Young Dressage Horse Trainers Conference. And this event went on for 10 years. And this is another sort of life-changing event where we would go to Maryland and trainers, you know, at horse shows, we're not going to get together. There's too much going on. And this was where we all flew in for 3 or 4 days and we talked about training, but there was also built-in social time of where we would eat together. Yeah, we would eat together, dinner and, you know, and so there was a lot of time to get to know people. And that's where I met Philip, who has become one of my
came down to
friends.
Scott Hassler's in Maryland to train at the same time.
Yes. So I think there were 40 trainers who had to submit an application. You couldn't just come, like you had to submit an application, and Philip and I and Lauren Ball Tisdale from Cleveland, we went to all 10 of them. So we became really good friends. And I think that was one of the pivotal, for sure, as I was a young trainer, something that happened, which, you know, I have dear friends that came out of that program, and Philip being the poster child.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are events that happen in our life, and I can think of a few events in my life where there's a coalescing of minds. You know, we get together for some kind of reason. And I still have friends. I did a thing in Holland in 1998. It was called Natural Switch Days. And Sally Swift flew in, but she was just there to observe, and I did all the teaching. And I still have friends from that. And I taught all over Europe as a result of that. And so there are these moments in our lives where, you know, it's that catalytic moment, and it sort of sets us onto courses that we could never dream of. We could never imagine where we were going to wind up 10 years from there, you know? And it sounds like that was one of those. Yeah.
It was one of them. And, you know, another one was, I was a young rider. So this is kind of going back. I was 18 and I just come back from Germany. I guess I was 19. And I was at a clinic with Mr. Schumacher, and someone came up to my mom and said, you know, does Reese teach clinics? And my mom was like, oh yeah. I never taught a clinic. I was like, oh my God. My mom's like, get on the plane. You're fine. Get. And it was so cute because I went and taught this clinic for years, and I would go once a month. And I mean, I was a well-behaved college kid, you know, it was like, oh my gosh. And that started. And so I always tell people, like, get on the plane, answer the email, you know, sign up for, I did another just random one. It was called the Kentucky Ag Leadership Program. Not really anything to do with horses. There was one other she's become a dear friend, horse girl. And we went all over the world. Literally, we went to South Africa. And it was another one of those leadership groups where just sign up, just do it. You never know, you know, who you'll meet. And I have great guys. If I need hay, I got a ready source of hay. I just call my boys and I'm like, hey guys, you know, I need some hay. The guys are like, I'll drive it to Florida. Well, I got it.
Well, and you know, I think that's one of the things that I have found is that so many people just want to look inside their little horse box, right? And they just want to look inside their little circle and not be willing to look outside. And one of the things that, again, I think we have in common, I'm wondering if we're like soul sisters or something. Because
I think we are too.
I know, I'm like, it's so crazy because I always try to go and learn something outside of horses, right? So that I can be the student again and understand what it's like to be the student. And one of the things I did was I went to this workshop called Explain Pain. It was actually in Maryland or near Baltimore. And it was by a guy named David Butler from Australia. But, you know, so many of my riders that I work with have pain. And so I was sitting there and there's all these doctors and nurses and physical therapists. And I'm like, I'm the riding instructor.
Yeah,
but it's huge. Really, really helpful in understanding my students. So there's so often that we can go outside of our box and gather a little piece or see something from a completely, or learn a new technique or another idea of teaching and bring it back in, and it enriches our lives and our students. And, you know, so that's what I think is we're so similar in that idea of not being afraid to go and explore something different. And I wish so many people would understand that it's so important to be willing to put yourself out there a little bit into a place that it's maybe slightly uncomfortable, maybe really uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable.
Yeah, but the value in that stretch is so important to
what you really want to do. Whether sometimes it's what you don't want to do. Okay, that's fine. That's a lesson learned. I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
So often there are really positive things that happen. And that's one of the things, okay, we got to get to Horse Radio Network, but before I get there,
yes,
you are this incredibly bubbly person. And it's not just, I'm either your family is all really bubbly, or you're unique among your siblings, or we are really soul sisters.
Yeah, I think we're soul sisters. Mother, what is it? You have a different mother from, I don't know. Sister from a different
brother from another mother. Yeah.
No, my mom's pretty bubbly. Both my parents are very, very good professionals. I am actually not a morning person. I am not. My barn does not open till 8, because between 7 and 8, I feed the horse. I literally stumble outside in my jammies and feed the horses. And that's like how I start the day. And I stumble to make a cup of coffee. I'm a night person, so it's really hard to get up early.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. I wouldn't, in Germany, I had to be on the horse at 6:30 I was like,
oh yeah, because the time zone change on top of that would just kill you. It'd be like,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, I lived there, so it wasn't so. I mean, the first day,
your biological clock doesn't always figure that out,
It was so dark. It was dark till 10. I tell you what, so I'm actually, my husband's the only one. He just doesn't really talk to me, and I don't really talk to him, and it's fine. But by 8:00, I've got my smiles on and I'm ready to go. If I'm grumpy, get out of the way. And I'll tell people, I'm grumpy, get out of my way. But no, I'm pretty happy. I mean, I think like anything, I get to play with ponies all day. My job is pretty amazing, and I've created and I love the quote. It's create a life you don't have to vacation from. And
I've never heard that one before. I love that. I'm going to put that in the chat. Create
a life. And I don't know who said it. Somebody really, but I still need a vacation every once in a while. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but still, no, I agree with you, because I mean, that's, I've been traveling and teaching for years, and yes, you get tired of the airplanes and the travel part, but I love what I do. And so I created a life doing what I do and love to do and do really well. Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things about the pandemic that I think, yes, it's a hardship. Yes, there's people are getting sick and people are dying, but at the same time, the world has stopped moving in its habitual way. And it's an opportunity for us to be able to take a moment of introspection and quiet ourselves and figure out, am I really doing what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Right.
And I think that that's so important, to have that moment of reevaluation time and to be able to really dive into that question and make sure, because you know what, you only get one life.
Right. And so true.
It's important to do something you really are passionate about. And what I find is that if you're really passionate about it, you will find, you will find a way. Make a syndicate, get a barn, whatever. You find a way, because the passion drives you. And you don't worry about the hours and the time and everything else. And yes, there's setbacks. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to quit teaching riding, especially if one of my students got hurt, even if it wasn't my fault. Right. That is the ultimate thing for me. That's I'm going to quit.
But I think that's any career, right? I'll never forget, I don't know. It was a particular, I don't remember the time. And my husband and I try to walk the farm in the evening. It's so pretty. And I remember walking, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. We got to sell this place. I'm out. I cannot run a farm. I don't want to do and he looked at me and he goes, do you realize what a cool place you've created here? And I was like, all right, what? You look at the tractor broke, they kicked another fence board, and my husband's like, you've created an amazing community through what you've done, and a place where people can come and they can learn. And there have been people that haven't learned well here, or I don't teach well, or it's not like it's perfect all the time, and it's not. I've been
100% of the people 100% of the time, right? And we have to stay true to ourselves.
Yeah, and I agree, because when the pandemic started, we came home from Florida.
You were down there for a while trying to get back.
I was. Yeah, we were kind of stuck because we had to wait for the transport and get on the, so we were there, and then we came home and I shut the barn down. And I was doing all the work myself, and I remember why I was so skinny in the 20s. because I was doing all the work and I mean, from cooking and cleaning. My husband had started a company. It's a whole nother story, but it's good now. But literally he started a company the day the global pandemic was declared. And so it was really stressful. Again, it was like, oh my gosh, where are we?
Like deja vu, right?
Yes. It's like we started the place again. I didn't have any help. There's not much money coming in, you're like, oh my God. So, but once my students started coming back, I was like, I get so much energy from my students and being able, and that we could provide a really cool place for them to come, and it was safe. And I still believe teaching riding and what we've done here is safe, and we can do it in a good way. We figured out just, like I don't hand my headsets anymore. I just teach from my voice, old school. So there's no, but the way how the farm is set up here, Wendy, people come in, they go right to the indoor, they tack up at their trailer. Only the students I only have 3 or 4 that are here in the main barn. So we decided kind of all of us, we're a pod, we're all socially distancing and we're all being safe. And so we could keep the barn open. Awesome. And it's been great. So, you realize that. And I knew that. I had gone on a couple of years ago to do my USDF FEI certified instructor exam, which I'm a huge, if people, and I know you feel this way too, certifications are important. They're not perfect.
Right.
But it's a system we have here in America. And I am so glad to be an FEI certified instructor. That was hard. It was like a PhD exam, again. But I'm glad that I did it, and I would keep kind of pushing that program as much as I can. So.
Yeah. So how did you get hooked up with Horse Radio Network?
Yeah. Again, this is another push you into the plane, So Glenn and I can't remember exactly where we met. Actually, Jennifer, I did a lecture for Alltech, did sort of a horse and brews or something where you would go, and that happens here in Lexington where they have little events where all the time, the horse group gets together. And I did one of those, and I think it was on breeding and kind of talking about my breeding experience, which is small, but, and it didn't last long. I'm not going to lie, because I couldn't make money. So I think Jennifer heard me talk there, and she came up and introduced herself. Said, we have this
people
podcast.
Who Jennifer is.
Oh, sorry. Jennifer is Glenn's wife, who is also a co-owner of the Horse Radio Network. So, and then right after that, I had gone to Equine Affair, and I did a lecture, one of those big arenas, big stadium type demos. And so I did that, and Glenn came up to me after and said, would you come on the show? It wasn't the dressage show at the time, on one of his shows, and do a segment. And I said, sure. So that's what started it. So then the dressage radio, the person in front of me, they parted ways, and Glenn called me and said, hey, will you do this? I said, I'll do it for 3 months. That's all I got.
Wait a second, 3 months?
3 months. Yeah. So I'm still doing 3 months.
Let's see, what year was that when you started 3 months?
Yeah, exactly. And it became, the first month I was kind of looking for a co-host and trying to find someone. It became pretty apparent that I needed a male voice. It just helps. You don't have to have a male voice, but we decided it would be good. So I thought of Philip, because I had met him at that conference, and I called him up and I said, hey, do you want to maybe do this?
And he has a great voice. He has a great
voice, but if you listen, you would go back and listen to his first one. It was so bad. We almost didn't have him stay. But what happened is, I don't know, I can say this in the webinar. We told him, we're like, have a drink, calm down. He was so nervous. So for the first year, I think Philip was probably half intoxicated. I probably was too.
The secrets.
So
behind the dressage hour. Yep. Now we get to find out.
Yes. Here we are. And so I'd have to pull the stats. You probably know the stats better than I do on our show, but we have around 20,000 downloads every show, which is quite a lot actually. And we have a great, and I will say actually during the pandemic, I actually started listening to podcasts myself because I was doing all the work in the farm, and my husband was so busy with his new business, and I was like, I need people. So I started listening to podcasts, not about horses. I started actually listening to business podcasts so I could sort of have something interesting to add to my husband's conversation. And so I really found some podcasts I like, and NPR has some great ones for business and what was happening in the world and how we handle things from a business perspective. So I started listening to those. And I said to Philip, I said, I think we really need to really focus on community of the Horse Radio Network, of the dressage radio show. And he said, I agree. So we upped the ante. We did some longer shows. That was on purpose. Absolutely. We did a workout with Nicola Smith, who does dressage rider training. So we did a 12-week workout. We upped the book club. Yeah, we upped the book club. We did one book a month. And truly, and then we actually got a new producer, Paul. You've met Paul. He's so cute. He's in England. Nothing to do with horses, but it really became this community of like, Paul, how are things going in England? Phil, how are things going in Canada? What's happening here? So I look forward to Thursday nights now.
Yeah, and that's the beauty, because you record on Thursday, but the show airs
Saturday. It comes out Saturday.
Right.
It goes from us to the editors, and I actually once it sort of leaves us, that's the last time I see it.
Right.
Until it goes out.
And I'm kind of that, because my life keeps spinning on and I've got more things to do, but it is really, I can't tell you how many people are have emailed me and gone, I heard you on Horse Radio News Network. Yeah. What do I want to call it? News? I don't know. But on the Dressage Hour, and I was so surprised to have people email me and thank me for being on the show. And I was like, because I come on and, a lot of things in my life it's kind of busy. And so I do the show and then I go on and do something else and, and then I come back. But it was really amazing. And so, one of the shows, and I have to thank you guys, because one of the shows I said, I need some help.
Yeah.
I got like 5 people contacting me and going, what, and I've hired 2 of them. And so
no kidding.
I have, yes, I've hired 2 of them. Right. And so they're working for me. They're helping me with social media. They're helping me with my with Surefoot. And so, I've benefited from the show in many ways, not only in friendship, because I just enjoy so much getting to talk to you guys every month.
Yeah, it's true.
But also in my business, and also in just being able to connect with the larger community. It's really great.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, we got a special guest. Oh, can you see my dog?
Not yet.
Annie has just woken up.
Oh, hi, Annie.
Hey, Annie. That's Annie. Yeah. She's an older lady, and she loves she likes the radio show. She's here all the time. She comes in for the show, and so I think she thinks we're doing the radio show, because she
so is this where you record the radio show? Is that your tack?
Yep, this is it. This is my little office here.
Yeah,
I can
it's
awesome. Around. We got horse
you've got great
everywhere,
wall and ribbons. It's great. It's great.
So they call us I don't do any technical. I just hit Skype and it magically happens. I don't even really know much that happens. We have a producer.
No, it's great, because I just do that too, right? We just Skype in and we do the show.
Yeah.
And and away it goes, and it's a blast. And so it's just really, I'm going to have to get Glenn on one of these, because I'd love to kind of talk to him about how he created Horse Radio Network, and it's grown. So I can remember meeting Glenn like 1,000,000 years ago at an expo, and they were just starting out. And
right.
I'm trying to even think what year that was, but it's really, really grown, and the horse community's really embraced it. And, I know people all the time that go, oh yeah, I listen to Horse Radio Network all the time, and it's really, really simple.
Well, I think it's because of the medium. You can put the phone in your pocket or in your jacket, and you can do your stalls. And, I've had people, I'm at a horse show, and I know the look now, and they're like, and I'm like, hey, it's your, oh, I knew it. I knew your voice. And that's really, the first time it happened, I was like, Phil, and then, but again, it's another example in my life of, do it. We've gone to World Cups. We were supposed to go to the World Cup, and we have gone to 2 World Equestrian Games over the, we went to Tryon. We've been to Kentucky. Just all the things. I am a huge, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But, you know, who knew I'd be a podcast host? And you know, we talked about, I teach a class at the University of Kentucky now.
Oh yeah, that's right too. So what class do you teach at UK, my alma mater?
Yeah, it's called actually Global Sport Horse Industry. And we start Monday. So when you said, how's Zoom going? I was like, I need to work on my Zoom.
Oh, perfect. Here we
So
go.
I'm working on Zoom. Yeah, I'm working on Zoom because I'm going to have to be you in Monday, which really gives me a little anxiety. Really make my husband, I was like, you have got to schedule that you're right here at 5 o'clock on Monday when I have to start this class. But, you know, again, it was the same kind of thing. I was on the board for the university, the ag program, and it was very thoroughbred focused. And as things have become more sport horsey here in Lexington, they said, we need a class. Will you teach it? I was like, wow. Oh boy. And I had no idea what it meant to teach a college class. But because I had a master's degree, that sort of, you can't teach at the university unless you have a master's. So now I don't have a PhD, and I teach around a PhD, but we're waiting on that for a little while. I'm not ready for that. I'm a little busy for a PhD.
Well, that's where I got my master's at UK, and I was going to get my PhD in equine biomechanics, either looking at the horse's spine or navicular, when I had my life changed and said I want to be outside the 4 cement walls and actually do applied biomechanics. So that's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you know, high enough that I can teach, and I have 32 students in the equine.
Wow.
Mostly seniors. So I'm sort of the last stop before they're heading to their own businesses or on their way.
But that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I'm like you, I can't sit still, but I will say, and I tell this to all my kids that want to be, you cannot survive in the horse industry if you don't have side hustles. I'm a huge believer in that, because, and I learned this as, you know, when half my income really went down when I couldn't teach.
Right.
And actually Mr. Schumacher had said this. He had come to talk to my business class, and I had emailed him not that long ago to check and see how he was doing and with the pandemic. And I said, you gave me the best advice. And that is, every business should have a 3-prong approach to revenue. So 3 prongs. So if one prong gets cut off, which it did, I mean, who would have ever thought that the state of Kentucky would shut down riding lessons? But we were closed down. So 3-prong approach. So when that stopped, I still had the radio show. I still had, you know, I'm on staff now. I start teaching in the fall. And so I still had revenue. And I think that one hit us all very hard. And so I tell my girls that are in the horse world, clip, braid, find some to house sit, find things where you're making extra money and you're putting that money away. And so that's this is one really of my side hustles. Advice,
you know, and for me, I was fortunate enough that, you know, Surefoot has been growing and growing. And so when the pandemic hit, I just started doing these webinars, and, you know, I really started them for my own self, you know, like interest in that. I was curious to talk to people that I knew they were all home now, right? I mean, that's the thing, is you can't connect.
Yeah, they're home
because they're so busy and in different places. But with the pandemic, they were home. And so I got to talk to a lot of people that I had, and I have some great guests lined up for the rest of this month, by the way, because my 100th webinar is going to hit this month.
Girl, I don't know how you're doing it. And all your spare time.
Wonderful guest coming up for my 100th webinar. I'm really excited about it. So, you know, and I have some pretty good guests before that too. So, you know,
I bet you do.
It's great. And it's so much fun to provide people with an education, but have it entertaining. And that's, you know, like, it's not, I don't want them all to be like strict science, which is why one of the reasons I wanted to have you on as a guest, because I knew that you were a creative person and you would have really interesting things to tell the audience. And you do. And this is such good advice.
I hope it was creative.
Oh, absolutely. But the whole idea of having 3 things, right? That's, I mean, if nothing else, that's such a nugget to get out of this webinar, because that's what I did. As I lost the riding, right? And so I had Surefoot, and then I created, I've been working on some other projects, my online courses, actually, they've been doing great. So cool. And so, so when it hit, Because I remember in 2008, actually, when I was on safari in Kenya and it crashed on my birthday, which is coming up. And when we left, got back to Nairobi, we found out that some of our guest bank was closed. And, you know, we went from there, we were going back to the UK, Brad and I, for a couple of days vacay. Well, there was no vacay because all you're thinking about is, what are we going to do? Right?
What are we going to do?
And it was super, super stressful. So that's when I started to diversify a bit more. And and Surefoot came along, obviously, in 2012. And so it's just been, and people can do that on their own. And that's what you've been doing with Big Mike and choosing the Surefoot.
Yes, that's what I've been doing with Big Mike. I know. And actually, Big Bingo, I have a fantastic new horse. I actually am very, very lucky. And I don't know. I think I've told you, but I have a new Grand Prix horse. And his name is Bingo. And I have a very, very wonderful sponsor who has been with me for 10 years. And she owned this horse, but she decided that I would get the ride on him. So again, during COVID, he came over in May. He's been here now. He's like, he's lived here. He's like, this is my people. And he's pretty phenomenal. So we've been playing with the Surefoot.
Pictures, because I haven't seen him. You haven't told me about Bingo.
Really? Oh gosh. Well, I can't. Again, there's been so much going on that I can't. I kind of did what you did too. Yeah, I know, and I kind of did what you did too. I also started an online lesson program, which I haven't gone crazy but I have it, and it's I have a process now for everybody. If you wanted an online lesson, and I like it because we review a video together. And I think that's important because we talk about theory, and we sit down at the computer somewhere quiet and we can actually talk about some stuff. And I found that to be actually really cool versus I haven't done live ones, but it works great. So
but video, because in video you can actually stop action and you can go back and review and see the setup that caused whatever happened. And so, it's like a lot of times in my webinars, when I'm showing a video like of a horse on Surefoot pads, I'll stop it and then I'll just scrub it slowly, and suddenly things that you didn't see the first time around become so obvious just from changing the perspective. And again, I think that's what it's all about, is that when we change our perspective, when we refocus our lens, we really get to see that there's a lot more going on than we thought, and a lot more opportunity than we realized.
Right. Oh, it's so true. And that's, I think with horses, I think that's, with all of it, and with people, when I tell them like, they're like, for example, Florida, I could never go to Florida. Well, let's talk about it. Maybe you can find a way to go to Florida, and maybe you may be mucking stalls at 4 a.m. But if you want to do it, there's probably a way to do it. Yeah. For example, we were talking about Florida and like, are we going to go? What's going to happen? And
because this was the first year you went to Florida, right?
No, I've been going for about 20 years.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Do over.
Yeah. No, we've been going, because again, that's where everything kind of happens.
That is where everything happens in the wintertime. And we'll just have to see what happens this year. Who knows?
I know. You've been to my little farm that I rent. I have a great lady I rent from, and it's so cute. And we feel very safe there. So we're planning on going.
Well, I can see where you could easily socially distance where you are. It's a nice, quiet little corner of the world, and you've got an arena and a barn right there, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and I live right there, so we're able to, again, it depends on the situation and where you're going, and it's not a big barn. So we're planning on business as usual and going down there. And but again, we were able to work together with the Surefoot pads. I did the mounted, which we did not do. I was able to do a mounted, which was really cool. I have not done a ton of the mounted ones because I think I need a little more training. I would feel more comfortable doing a few more sessions with you.
Yeah, and we're gonna get together. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, I know. We'll film it. I know, we'll film them. Big Mike's really good about it. Like he's pretty good on them now, and he doesn't fuss around. He used to like, I was like, just stand on the pads, and now he's like, okay, he's much better.
Yeah. Well, that's that whole finding his ground. And that was the thing that you said about him the most, was that he didn't have good proprioception and he didn't really sense the ground really well. And so it's awesome to hear that that's really gotten better. It's really great.
Yeah, it has. He just did his first Prix St. George in June. He had almost a 69%, and came back again and did the developing pre St. George, and he's like the first alternate for festival. So he had a 69.48, which was pretty cool on his first go. So I was
really cool.
Mm-hmm. And he's a big dude. You know, he can still go.
No, he is a big dude. He is.
Big guy. He's got bigger. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, no, and you quit feeding that boy.
Well, Reese, this has been absolutely just a blast. I have so enjoyed. I hope everybody else has enjoyed this, because this has been so much fun for me to really get to know you more. I mean, like, and find out, you know, just how incredible you have done in shaping your life to be your dream. And you know, I just have to congratulate you on just what you've accomplished. I know you're younger than me.
Thank you. It's been fun. And like I tell people, it's possible. You can do it. You can make the life you want. You just have to sometimes get on the plane or jump or do it. And that's the hardest part.
Right.
Sure.
You have to trust. You have to just trust that you're going to find your wings and fly.
Yep. And you will. And let me tell you, you'll figure it out.
Yep.
So, well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So everybody, just remember, you can see this in all of the webinars on the Surefoot Equine YouTube channel. And tomorrow my guest is Laura Plunkett. We're going to talk about working with shutdown horses and what you can do to help get them out of their shell. Reese, this has been such a pleasure. I've just, you know, like I said, I feel like we're sisters from another mother. And
so true.
So looking forward to our next time on the Dressage Hour. And just let Glenn know, I'll be calling him to have him come.
I will. I'll tell him.
Okay.
I will. I'll tell him.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, Wendy.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.